There's a special notation we use for these one-sided limits that I've talked about. First thing to mention is what we call these one-sided limits are the limit as x approaches -1 from the right and the limit as x approaches -1 from the left. Again, we mentioned on the last slide that as x approaches -1 from the right, this function approaches 2. To write that down using notation, what we say is the limit as x goes to -1 from the right of f of x equals 2. That little plus sign there is the symbol that says we're approaching -1 from the right. The reason plus means from the right is that plus means bigger, and if we're a little bit bigger than -1, we're approaching it from the right. As x approaches -1 from the left, f of x approaches 3. Again, we saw that from the graph. If we want to write that out using notation, what we say is that the limit as x goes to -1 from the left of f of x equals 3. That minus sign tells us that we're approaching -1 from the left. Again, minus means smaller. If we're a little bit smaller than -1, we're a little bit to the left of -1. It's important not to confuse the limit as x goes to 2 from the left with the limit as x goes to -2. Again, a negative sign after something means you're approaching it from the left. A negative sign before something means that that number in question is actually negative. One of the easiest situations in which to find a one-sided limit is a situation in which a graph of the function is given to you. Finding a one-sided limit from the graph is basically as easy as finding a normal two-sided limit from a graph. In fact, it turns out to be a little bit easier because we only need to look at one side of the point in question. We don't need to look at both sides. Again, there will be situations coming up where one-sided limits may not exist, and a two-sided limit does not exist unless both one-sided limits are the same. If the one-sided limits are different, the two-sided limit does not itself exist. In example 1, we're going to use this graph that's given here to find a number of one-sided and two-sided limits. To find the limit as x goes to 1 from the left of f of x, we're going to approach the x-coordinate 1 from the left along this line here. We approach this point here, which has y-coordinate -2. If we want to approach 1 from the right, we're going to approach the x-coordinate 1 along this line here. We approach this point here, which has y-coordinate 0. If we want to approach 2 from the left, we're going to approach the x-coordinate 2 along this line here. The y-coordinate we get is -1. If we want to approach 2 from the right, we're again going to approach 2 along this line here. We approach this point here, which has y-coordinate -1. Now this limit as x goes to 2 of f of x, that is a two-sided limit. To figure out what the two-sided limit is, we look at the two one-sided limits, here and here. Both one-sided limits are the same, which means the two-sided limit exists, and it is -1. If, for example, I asked us to find the limit as x goes to 1 of f of x, that two-sided limit, to find it, we look at the two one-sided limits, here and here. Those two one-sided limits are different, which means this two-sided limit does not exist.